Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do a quick setup of the integrated architecture builder from Rockwell Automation. Okay, let's get started. So first we're going to click on the link for IAB. Mine's on my taskbar here. And then you'll get this window that pops up to ask you if you want to do an automatic connect to the internet. And when you do that, at times it's going to ask you to update your IAB. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to say no. Then we're going to select a new project. We're going to call it demo. And then you can see the location here is where the file will be saved on your local computer. If you want to change it, click on this ellipsis and then specify the location of where you want the file saved. And then we're also going to start with configuring our network. So we're going to go with network. Here's our choices that we have for different networks. For the purpose of this video, we're going to do Ethernet IP. And then we're going to select the standalone switch. And then down here we have this a few other options. We have the standalone switch, standalone device level ring. So if you're doing what we call a DLR, and then you also have a standalone device level linear. So, but for this video, we're going to do standalone switch. So we'll zoom in. And we'll double click on the switch. You can see that the names of the switch and some of the other details are up here as well. If you click on the network configuration, this will pop up what you can edit and how you can modify different settings. So for this video, we're going to change our subnet to make it to be the standard Rockwell IP address scheme. And then what this will do is every device that you add, as we add more devices to this network, they'll come up with this same IP address scheme. So anything will change is the last IP address. So we also want to change, since we're not going to add that many devices, we're going to have like 4 devices for this video. We're going to change this to a 5-port switch as well. And since it's a small network, we're going to go with a lightly managed switch, which is this one here. It's a 5-port lightly managed switch. And then we're going to select OK. So now if we go back to our network, we can see we have our switch set up. Okay, now that we have our network set up, let's go up to here and select the new hardware icon. And here you can see that there's a list of hardware that we can select. We're going to start out with the Compact Logix 5000 controller. And we're going to select, and we're going to change the name to main controller. Select OK. Now that's going to put us into a different window for the hardware. So in order to add another controller, you have to put in the catalog number. So we'll put in 5069-L, and then they all start with 3. And if you hit enter, you get a listing down here of all the different controllers. So we'll just take the first one, which is a 5069L306ER controller. If you click on it, you can see that all the details are down in this window. Next thing we want to do is add some I/O. So it would be a 5069-IB16 for an input. You can drag and drop that up here. And we'll add an output module. It would be 16. You can drag and drop that one up here. And if you want to increase the size of your chassis, click on the configuration, and then you can increase the size of this chassis. For the L306ER, you can only go up to 8 modules in the chassis. And if you want to add a power supply, click on the button, and you can select whichever one you want. This is a 5-amp power supply, so that would be more than enough. And then you have, say if we want to add an analog, we'll use an universal analog input. So it'd be an I69IY 4, we can drag and drop that one up there. So we're pretty much done here. When you're doing this configuration, you don't want to have any empty slots or else you'll get errors. So what we want to do is go back into here and knock this down by 2 slots, and then we're fine. The other thing you may want to do is you can also select what type of terminal blocks you want to have. You can do the screw or you can do the plug-in or spring. So if you want to change that, you hit apply, and now they've all changed to that. Typically people use the screw type, so we'll put it back to screw. Okay. And down here also you get to see what your power usage is for the module and for the SA power. So when you're building your controller, you can try to estimate what your power usage is going to be using this tool. The other neat thing about this is it also gives you the dimensions. So if you look over here, you can see how wide and tall your controller is going to be. So it's going to give you that information over here, and it will give you the power usage over here as well. So if we want to add more devices, you can go up here, and now we can add, if we want to add a panel view, we can go down to the bottom here, add a panel view +7. We can do a performance model. So we want a 10-inch. Select that. So now we have that configured. If you go back to your network, you notice that nothing's attached to it. So what you want to do is go into your hardware and right click, and then you can do connect the network. And we know it's switch 1 is the name of the device that we want to connect to. We hit OK. So we can rename this as well from here. So if we want to change it to OS1 for operator station 1, you can see that that's been changed. Now we can connect this to the network as well. And when we go back to our network settings, you can see everything's connected. Now that we have our hardware configured, let's check for errors. So if we right click on the processor, run processor checker. In here you will get some information on the RPI, what hardware is assigned to that processor. So if you had additional remote I/O racks here, you can verify that they were communicating with this processor. And then the other thing you can do is if you have an HMI, you can see the number of connections that are being used and what controller it's being attached to. You can also put in produced and consumed tags. So if you want to add some produced and consumed tags, you can add those in here as well. And you can assign them between 2 controllers. Since we don't have a second controller, we can't really do that, but that just gives you an example. Motion, you can do that. Our controller doesn't have motion, so we don't have anything to add in this tab. Logic, so you can add how many rungs of code you think you'll be continuous, or a number of rungs that you would have for each periodic task. So you can add those in there as well. So if we put say if you want to put 500 rungs of code in there, then you can put another one saying it another 500 rungs. Maybe this one's only at 50 milliseconds. And then you have errors and warnings. So you can see that we don't have any errors or warnings at this time. And then this is also checks your connections and the number of nodes connected to it. What your controller utilization is. So this is a good place to look to see how your system's configured. And then the other area that we would want to look at is when you want to, there's another project completeness wizard. So in here, there's also errors at times that you could be popping up. So you want to check these for any errors. This one doesn't seem to be an issue. There's nothing there. There's nothing at those ones. But if you go back to your project, you'll see these aren't completed. So if you want to add your software at this time, you can add some different control software. If there's something that you don't want, you get to remove it. So if you want to take that out, for example, your studio software for your machine edition. You probably don't need that. And then you have your Studio 5000 software. So you can finish that, and that would add. Now it goes green because now we had the software added. And the last item that you probably would want to add would be for your 120 volt to 24 volt power supply for your switch. And that's all. That's about all we would want to do at this point. So you can see that's all completed. And the next step would be to generate a bill of material. Now that we have done our error checking for the project, let's generate a bill of material. So we'll go up to the project BOM icon, click on that. We'll be asked to save our project. Click yes. And then now you see you have a bill of material. One thing to notice in this bill of material is it automatically adds some miscellaneous items, such as your terminal blocks. So in this bill of material, it's an organized bill of material, so it shows the material for that section. So for the main controller, you have this, and then you can scroll down, you see you have your software. The other option is to do a consolidated bill of material. So you can also do that, and it'll roll up all the quantities into one bill of material. The last item is a positional. The positional bill of material is good for when you're trying to communicate with people in terms of where modules are going to be positioned and what items are maybe in that slot. As you can see here, you have this IB16, and then it also shows a screw terminal that'll be associated with it. So you can also save this as a spreadsheet so you can manipulate it as that as well. So depending on which one you select, you can select the organized bill of material and then save as a spreadsheet. That'll come up, and then you can save it, and it'll launch Excel in there as well. So you can see all the information is logged in there, and now you can manipulate it within Excel. That's all I have. Thank you for watching. And at the end of this clip, I will have information on where to download the integrated architecture builder. Thank you.